The UFC White House card kind of sucks. And I'm going to tell you why we got what we got. Because it's a lot more complicated than you could think. Now, before we even get into that, let's talk about expectations. Because there was a lot of expectations coming in for this card. There's a $60 million platform that the UFC could use to identify themselves as being the reason to be American sport. The American sport. Why Donald Trump chose UFC, MMA over baseball, over basketball, over football. Why they chose the UFC. And the UFC, a lot of people came in thinking that they were going to put in a absolute banger card. Their biggest stars, their biggest names, the most exciting fights. And honestly, in hindsight, a lot of this looks dumb. But it doesn't come without precedence because the president talked about how there should be and there is going to be 8 or 9 UFC championship fights. And that was kind of regurgitated by John Anik. Look, Donald Trump saying one thing is one thing, right? But John Anik, who works for the company, who was close to everybody there, when he says it, it becomes a little bit more serious. When he says 6 or 7 undisputed title contested fights, I kind of believe him more than somebody who doesn't know, right? So we expected this, but there was no reason to not expect this. Yeah, it looks dumb in hindsight, but we were told, yeah, it's going to be dumb good. So when we got this didn't look dumb good. It didn't even look dumb bad. It just looked boring. This is fine, which is not what you kind of want to get for the $6 million White House card event. Freedom 250. This is not good enough. Now, there is a real reason why we got what we got, right? Now let's talk about it. So we got boring. Like, why did we get Im Sahabi? Why did we get Botnick? Why we get Kyle Dawkins? And I think there's a real reason, and it's very complicated. Right? I'm a boy. Oh, before that, please like and subscribe. I'm a small YouTube channel. Helps me grow a lot. Please. All right, that's it. Well, basically, we have 8 champions. Under each champ, there's 15 ranked fighters for a total of 208 fighters, right? In total. That is a lot in a big pool to work with. The reason this kind of gets complicated and the reason this is so mid is because 3 things that I boiled it down to, right? The first one being who wants to come, who can't come, and who is allowed to come, right? Now, who wants to come? Let's talk about it first, right? Now, this kind of came in my mind when I saw this fight. Amos Sahabi versus Sean O'Malley. To me, makes no sense at all. Why we not going to get someone like Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen? Oh, it's because he's dugging him. All right, well, how about someone like Payne Talbot? Payne Talbot is American. He is a fun fighter coming up. If you want to platform him and have him be an exciting fight in front of a bunch of fans, a bunch of noob casuals, you want to use that big name. Either you want to dispose of Sean O'Malley or you want to big up Payne Talbot, or the reverse. Either way, you kind of want to put 2 amazing potential superstars in there, not a 38-year-old Canadian who's probably just gonna get washed and retire in a couple of years, right? You do not want to do that. You want to put a big up-and-comer. But then I started thinking about, does Payne Talbot even want to be at the White House? Does he want to perform there? Because this is a man who strip dances or pole dances, vapes anally, and skinny dips with Frank Ocean. And now when I tell you that, do you think he wants to perform in front of all the political figures, a controversial president? Do you think he wants to be there? Sean Strickland does not want to be there. He talked about how I would fight if there were more inclusion for the fans, just to hang out with fucking Epstein files, Epstein list. I'm good. He does not want to be there. And you know what? Sure, fine. That's fine. But that kind of takes us to other fighters who also probably don't want to be there. Michael Morales might not want to be there. Brandon Royval and Brandon Moreno talked about how they don't want to be there indefinitely. So who wants to come becomes a question of, okay, 128 fighters, maybe 110 want to come. Still a big pool. That's still a lot of names that we could use to build this White House card, right? If we're Dana White, we still have a lot of champs. We still have all our champs. We still have a lot of fighters who want to appear. But then that comes down to who can come. Right? Who is allowed to, who is there for us? Who can come? Now, Dana White talked about the CIA. They talked about another podcast, but I couldn't find it because I don't care enough to search about it. But he talked about how every fighter needs a background check and needs to pass the CIA inspection, right? This is, again, regurgitated by Steven Garcia, who said he will face Diego Lopez at the White House, mentioned in an interview with the UFC, asked him to have a clean criminal record in order to be allowed to fight there. So that kind of leads me to believe out of those 10 people that I had, you're not allowed to be a criminal. No criminals. No Dumases who has like 18 mugshots, no Neil Magny, no Michael Johnson, no Connor, no Jones. They're not gonna pass the CIA inspection. CIA doesn't care about you, about your stardom. They care about the safety of the president, the safety of everybody else, right? So you're not allowed. On top of that, no Cody Garbrandt, no Nate Diaz, no Benoit. He's a French war criminal, I think. Derek Lewis, Volkan Ozdemir. They're not allowed to come. So on top of that, no terrorist affiliation. You can't be a criminal and you can't be a terrorist affiliation because the CIA is not gonna let that pass. And that kind of includes Hamza Shamaev because he's very buddy with Kadyrov. Same thing with Habib Nurmagomedov. Now, this is not me saying you're a criminal, you're a terrorist. This is not me saying that. This is me saying if the CIA does a background check, are they gonna find stuff like this? Where Habib Nurmagomedov, MMA gym raided by Russian security forces, are they gonna find this in your background and then say no, you're not allowed here? Because if they do, you're not allowed here. Then that takes it from plenty of fighters to maybe less. But on top of that, USA is in war right now. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't know enough about it. I'm not political. But the UFC does not have enemies. Maybe somewhere there. But the USA does have enemies, right? So that means no Russians, no Chinese, and no Middle Easterns in the UFC. White House lawn, main event, pay-per-view. And that kind of does a lot of damage to us because there's a lot of interesting, good, high-ranking fighters, some champs, some not, who are not going to be there. So we get the 110 fighters that are allowed to be there, who can come, to maybe 80. And again, I'm being very generous with that number of like 80 fighters. I'm not counting each one, but maybe 80. Now your pool of 128 goes down to 80. Sure, that's still a lot to work with. But then we enter our third criteria, and that is who is allowed to come. Now, there's a difference between who can come, who should come, and then who's allowed to come. Because you're not allowed to have opinions. You have to not have any opinions. If they hand you the mic after a win, you're not allowed to say anything crazy. Sean Strickland, he's American, he's high ranked, he could fight for the title. He's perfect. Except you give him a mic after a win and he's going to go crazy. You do not want that. You do not want opinions. You want only NPCs to be there because they have no personality. Bo Nick's not even going to curse. I do not know the voice of Kyle Dawkins. I do not care about, no one cares about Amos Sahabi's, no one knows his personality. No one cares about his opinion. This is just fine. This is simple, right? You could also, they have to be, and again, if you're allowed to be there, you have to be there for a reason. You have to be someone who could fight for the title, someone who's known, someone who's exciting, someone who's American, someone who you could schedule in there. There's a lot of fighters like Pyfer, Brady, not Usman, Buckley, Protez, Emmett, Max, Fluffy, Hernandez, Patty Pillman, who could be in the White House, but they already got scheduled out, right? And that kind of takes us from the 80 fighters who can come, who are allowed to come and should come, to maybe 40 fighters. That pool is 1/3 of what it used to be. Maybe, right? I guess I'm being conservative, but if you're different opinion, right? But now that testing pool of people who is allowed, can, and should come is damn small, right? So the requirements, again, is wants to be there. Okay performing in front of PDF file downloaders, passes a background check, is cool with America, trusted on the mic, exciting, fit schedule, well known, trusted to show, well ranked, no external conflicts, and is trusted, right? That is a lot of requirements just to be on one fight. AKA, we got mid because the UFC can only trust mid. The UFC, this is what fans wanted from the UFC. Can you really look at my eyes and tell me Conor McGregor is not going to say something crazy? John Jones is not going to pull out? Someone like Eli Topuria and Justin Gaethje are not going to have verbal combat? You telling me Hamza Chimaev is not going to say something like in the terms of like, I kill everybody, I smash everybody. You think he's not going to say something like that that's going to get the CIA triggered for a cause? You think Evloev is not going to flirt with a 17, 16-year-old? Are you telling me Kofi Covington and Diaz are not going to throw bottles at each other? Are you telling me that Benoit Saint-Denis is not going to commit a war crime? That Wei Li, if she wins, she's not going to spew Chinese propaganda? Are you telling me that Ian Gary's not going to pull out a couch on the corner? You telling me that Sean Strickland is not going to make Roundtree cry? You telling me he's not going to say something crazy? Are you telling me that Holland and Buckley are not going to say something crazy? There's a lot of trust that has to be put in this main event. If you want a full card, say something like this, that's like 20 people. That's 22, 26 people. Depending on how much the fight there is, that's 20 people you have to trust. That is out of the 40 people, you have to find 30, 20, 25, right? You got to find a fair amount instead of the 12 that we got. Because honestly, you cannot tell me that this card was amazing. This card would be phenomenal, but you can't trust everybody here. right? Compared to this, Ilia Topuria is PR trained. Justin Gaethje is a Trump supporter. He's a fan. Pereira doesn't speak English. Gunn is not going to say anything because he's also very no personality having, which is good. He's an NPC kind of. O'Malley not going to say nothing crazy. Sahabi has no personality. Rufy doesn't speak English. Chandler is a glazer for that side. Nico is a glazer for that side. Dawkins has no personality. Lopez barely speaks English, and if this English he does, he's not going to say nothing crazy. Garcia's not going to say nothing crazy. We got this because this is trustworthy. This is fine. This is fine because the UFC is fine with having not much personality. We want big chaos on stage. The best thing I've been seeing recently is Arman Sarukian raging at press conference, raging at fights and RAF and wrestling. Those are amazing. I love that. That's exciting. Conor McGregor throwing a dolly through a bus. That's exciting. You know, this is not exciting. Hamza Shamar versus Sean Strickland, the press conference, I could already predict it's going to be exciting. This is not exciting. There's no conflict here. This is just suit and tie, orderly NPCs going at it for the love of it. There's really not much here. There's not much at stake. There's everybody that Dana White could support and trust. And before I say bye, I wanted to do this thing. Feel free to play a game. Just take a picture of who you think fits the requirements, because there isn't really much. I have some, but I'm being very, very cautious of who I'm allowed. I'm being very conservative who's allowed. Carlos Prates is doing that BJJ stuff. He probably won't have time. Leon Edwards could show up, but does he want to? Kamaru Usman is waiting for a title. These are just, I'm highlighting names that probably won't show up. Song Yadong is Chinese, and they probably don't want Chinese people in the White House. Mario Batista, does he want to show up? Sure, maybe. I don't know. Like, I think this is a fun game. Arnold Allen could show up, but he just got in a fight, so maybe I would have scratched that out. If you just allowed, no. Gene Silva's Billsy right now. Aljamain Sterling probably want to show up, but is he fun enough to be at the White House? Maybe not. I just think this is a little fun game that you could play. But besides that, bye. Like and subscribe. I'll upload daily. See you guys tomorrow. Bye. Also, tell me what you think.